I was hungry, and the portion was stingy. I wouldn't even give it a 1-star review. A 0, if I could.
Not a problem, Nina.
No, I can manage, as long as this man pays for his food. You go upstairs and rest.
It was rank.
I recalled you. You come to ogle at me again. Whisper about what a weirdo I am.
Hey, is he one of them web sleuths from before?
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 315 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that thinks of Bethany as Tintin, Freddie is Snowy, Peter is Captain Haddock, and Glenda is Bianca Castafiore, which may not be funny, but is at least accurate. I'm Gavin.
And I am saddened that Naked Summer is already over.
Now, that has context within what we're doing at the moment.
Yes.
And it's not that naked summer you're talking about.
No, it's our naked summer. Because the kids are back.
The kids are back.
A week early.
I am not enjoying wearing underpants.
It is very
I'm finding
sad.
them kind of restrictive in this hot weather.
Yes. As are all clothes in this hot weather. I mean, I wear clothes when I'm going to be sitting on furniture, obviously. But last night, I was already in bed and realized I'd forgotten to take my pills and had to put on a nightgown and was annoyed by it.
If this is too much information for anybody, just let us know.
You don't think the majority of them haven't imagined us naked already? Come on now.
I'm so sorry.
What sort of parasocial relationship do you think we have with our listeners?
I thought it was just like a weekly chit chat with friends, but it's taken a turn. How are you this week?
A lot of people died that I love, like Richard Simmons and Dr. Ruth.
I thought both of them were already dead. So maybe it hit me less.
Right. And Shelley Duvall and Shannon Doherty.
And I never really think about the two of them. Richard Simmons I like to think about once every other month.
My mother and I used to do Sweatin' to the Oldies together. It was a bonding experience. It's one of my favorite childhood memories. And so it makes me really sad that he's no longer in the world. Although he seemed to have burned out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah.
And was finally living his own life. And that's terribly sad. And then Bob Newhart. And as somebody pointed out, he was in his 90s. And yes, I agree. But on top of everything else going on in the world, it's like just one last thing. It's just that one thing that you just want the world to stop, right?
Hold on, let me just check on Billy Connolly real quick.
Lou Dobbs died, and that's all right. Billy Connolly is still alive?
He's still with us.
Good. As is Dolly Parton as of this moment. So there is still some joy on the earth.
You will always have shared sweat with your mother.
You're so good at taking a beloved childhood memory and making it weird.
I think I'm just holding up a mirror to how weird it was. But you're welcome.
It was great.
No, I'm sure it's wholesome.
Kind of wish I still had that tape. Anyway, how was your week?
I was kind of affected a little bit by the nobody's computer is working thing that happened today.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, me too, a little bit.
Thankfully, my work laptop didn't need to be rebooted, otherwise I think I'd have been stuck.
Yeah.
But lots of other things that we rely on didn't run or didn't work, and thankfully we weren't flying anywhere.
No.
Because I was just wondering why all these planes were just falling out of the sky earlier today, but We soon found out it was
I
because
saw-
of Azure.
I saw one little plane, like a private plane, like a yellow biplane today. And it's the only thing I saw in the sky. It's kind of weird, but, you know.
Comforting.
Yeah. It was like 9/11 all over again. Because that was the...
And there we go. It's
That was
taken
the
us
last
like 5
time.
minutes, but we've got a 9/11 reference.
That was the last time I remember there being absolutely no airplanes in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also COVID.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
All right, on that fun note, shall we preamble, my dear?
Y'all's please.
Give us some of that aviation Corrie news.
I'm really glad you went with aviation as opposed to terrorist attack or pandemic. or naked.
Or us naked, yeah.
Naked Corrie news. Listeners have already heard naked Corrie news. They just don't know it. That's the
Maybe
beauty of
they're
a
hearing
podcast.
it right now. It's not. These underpants are
Yeah.
quite restrictive.
They've definitely heard braless Corrie news hundreds of times.
Yep.
But I
It's-
digress.
It's not every day that I like to keep my brow on after I finish work.
Congrats to Radio Time's Soap Award winners Peter Ash for the MND storyline winning Best Storyline and Charlie Renshaw for Best Young Performer. Well done, lads.
Good picks by the Radio Times for Corrie there, I think.
Yes. Yes. Kind of wish some other people had won awards as well. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm just glad that Coronation Street is winning awards again.
Hey, it's gone from a very empty furrow not so long ago to picking up storyline of the year as a pretty decent accomplishment, I think. To
Correct.
go from nothing to that.
Yes.
So,
And congrats and good luck to these Inside Soap Awards nominees. Shanique Sterling Brown, Georgia Taylor, and Samia Longchambon for Best Actress. Daniel Brocklebank, David Nielsen, and Peter Ash for Best Actor.
I feel like we should have some applause ringing between names here.
It's a long list.
Oh, okay, I'll make
So-
myself comfortable then.
Callum Lill
Get this bra off.
and Luca Tulin for Best Villain. Jack P. Shepard and Maureen Lipman for Best Comedic Actor. I'm so proud of Jack P. Shepard. for
Fair
being
enough, that's
nominated
pretty
for that.
much all he's done.
This year, he's
Yeah.
been hilarious. I love it. Where was I? Oh, Jack Carroll and Vicky Myers for Best Newcomer.
Oh, Bobby.
Yes.
That's going to get the fans in
Bobby!
uproar.
Daniel Brocklebank with Peter Ash and Joe Deteen with Simon Gregson for Best Relationship.
Best relationship?
Right, or Best Partnership.
Okay, that's a little more. That's a little. Yeah, I guess that works
Friendship
better.
is a relationship.
Yeah, it's just
You're in a relationship with your friends.
just call it best double act.
Why are you uncomfortable about calling friendships relationships? What is wrong with you?
I have issues.
Are you homophobic?
No.
Okay. Charlie Renshaw and Liam McShane for Best Young Actor. The Platts and the Winter Browns for Best Family.
Winter Brown's getting a family mensch.
I know.
Didn't expect that.
Yeah. Carla and Peter say goodbye, and Joel is Lauren's secret boyfriend for Best Showstopper.
Okay.
And finally, the most important category, David the dog and Freddie the dog for Best Pet.
Best pet. I guess Freddie, because
We
David
haven't
the
really
dog
seen
hasn't been in it
David
for the
much.
longest time.
We haven't. We hear David being mentioned.
I love saying that David takes a shit in the street.
Right. Yeah,
And I haven't said that in ages.
I know. You could say it. It just wouldn't be accurate.
No. I'll try and work it in
Or
this
maybe
week.
it will be.
Into this week's notes on the fly.
And finally, speaking of dogs,
Oh, well, let's just wish everyone who's been nominated the very best of luck when
Yes,
those awards
that's-
roll round.
yes, that's why I said, and congrats and good luck
There
at
we
the
go.
top of this list.
Well, let's reiterate that,
Okay, fine.
which is traditionally how that happens.
Yes, yes. I feel like there are some good options here all around. I don't want to say who I'm rooting
I
for
agree.
because there are multiple people in all categories.
I've noticed that.
Yes. I think it's okay for us to say that we're rooting for Freddy, though.
Yeah, I don't think David the dog's going to give a fuck one way or the other.
No.
He's too busy shitting in the street.
Yeah. And finally, speaking of dogs, Tina O'Brien brings a cup of tea with her when she walks hers, which is apparently weird in the UK. Apparently, she gets weird looks because she's holding a cup of tea in one hand and the dog leash in the other.
I am, and I'm sure the listeners are also heaving a collective sigh of relief at the way that Corrie news item was worded. Talking of dogs, here's a story about Tina O'Brien.
And her dogs!
But it sounded like you were just talking about Tina O'Brien.
Well, the problem is you are constantly interrupting me so that people could, in theory, take my words and splice them in a way which makes it sound like I'm saying that Tina O'Brien is a dog. She is not. She's a very lovely human. Not that there's anything wrong with dogs. Dogs are beautiful too. And that's Corrie News. Dogs are beautiful too.
Well, I think we plumb new depths with Corrie News.
There was, I wasn't going to use it because I was like, this is ridiculous. Why is this an article? Why is this a story? What is weird about a cup of tea? I'm assuming like it's an actual open mug and not like a Stanley cup or something. Because I feel like people wouldn't look weird at her if she's holding like a Stanley cup. The only reason why I used it is because it was short and I had all of the award stuff to talk about. So, which was made even longer because you were constantly interrupting me.
I think I maybe said 3 words, but anyway. We will... You're in a tetchy mood tonight. This could be quite volatile.
See,
We
even
will
if
move...
the kids...
Oh, look, who's interrupting me now, eh?
Even if the kids weren't back, you wouldn't get Nude Friday after all.
Oh, well. My day's looking up.
Oh! It's looking down.
We will skim on from that train wreck of a Corrie News section and on to the calm waters of the feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. It's another bumper bag this week.
Ooh.
So we will start off with Russell from Nottingham. Hello,
Ooh.
both of you. Medium-time listener, short-time friend of the podcast, first-time emailer. I tend to listen to the podcast while falling asleep at night, so it can take me a week to get through an episode, and so I keep forgetting to add something to the Wendy's list of things the show has forgotten list. But do you remember when Sinead died? Carla was going to take on the Beard Oil Company and run it, with profits going to Bertie. And as far as I can recall, no mention has been made of this since 3 episodes after Sinead sadly croaked.
Yeah.
What a great point.
Right.
Beard oil. I remember being furious about the beard oil for
You
some
were
reason.
furious about the beard oil.
Keep up the good work. Listening to the podcast makes watching Corrie mostly bearable. That's what we aim for.
Yes.
Mostly bearable.
Mostly bearable.
Thank you, Russell. Aileen writes, with regards to Tommy O's bust, don't you think the lack of resemblance was a reference to the infamous bust of Cristiano Ronaldo at Madeira Airport? I did think that.
I've never seen it.
Imagine Cristiano Ronaldo having a stroke. That's what the bust looked like.
It's not easy getting people's likenesses.
No.
It's really not.
And then on Reddit, I don't normally go to Reddit, but for some reason I was attracted to this comment from Sugar Cinnamon Pop Tits.
My
Reddit.
favorite Reddit user of all time.
They're right. I love the podcast, The Talk of the Street. I might be a little obsessed with Gavin and Helen. Gavin is brilliant and his accent is so sexy.
No word about my accent.
I love everything they do regarding Corrie. Bravo. Thank you very much, Sugar Cinnamon Pop Tits
Yes.
on Reddit. This is how I talk.
We are such children.
And then we get a new 5-star review on iTunes.
Woohoo!
Highlight of my week.
Aw.
Thank you, Roy and Haley, for your hard work and dedication. From Caroline in Australia, hoping for a mention in next week's show. The 5-star review is headed The Talk of the House.
Ooh.
Very nice. Those comments on iTunes or wherever do take a few days or up to a week or two to come through. So
Yeah.
if you do leave a comment, we will get to it, I promise you. Thank you very much, though, Caroline, for that 5-star review. It's very much appreciated. And I encourage everyone who hasn't already done so to do so.
Correct.
Daisy writes, I am so sad to have missed out on the Q&A action last week, but so good to hear you all. I'd listen to Helen and Glenda's podcast every frickin' week. I told my French friend the word mint is something to describe stuff, and he couldn't believe it. Dreich is a great Scottish word. Dreich is a fantastic Scottish word.
That is a good word.
Do you know what it means?
Use it in a sentence.
It's very dreich outside.
Oh, it's very wet and damp.
Yep.
Yeah.
Clap instead of pet for an animal. I'd forgotten all about clapping a dog. You give a dog a clap. You give him a wee...
Oh, okay. All right.
pet
So
in the
it's
head.
not something that you do to a dog without its consent.
Definitely not. Give the dog a clap. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, you don't want to give the dog the clap.
You don't want to do that.
I
think that's illegal.
Yeah, it is. I'm just briefly reminded of the Stuff You Should Know HPV episode today, where they were talking about the fact that you can't give your dog HPV. And I was like, yes, because that's illegal.
What's HPV?
Human papillomavirus, the only STI that can give you cancer.
News to me.
Wow.
What is happening with the show, writes Daisy. Am I the only one who doesn't find Joel very scary? I find him very panto villain. My partner got me Corrie tour tickets for my graduation present on Monday, and one of the T's and C's was that I could mention it to you two, and then you got asked about it in the question anyway. If you had to live with someone on the show, who would it be? That's a little snog marry avoid. A little. But to live with somebody,
Roommates.
I think Brian.
Which is ironic because no one lives with Brian.
I think I'd enjoy just hanging with Brian, and plus he would cook dessert all the time.
Todd.
Yeah, Todd would be good as well.
He does the dishes.
He does do the dishes.
And he's funny.
I'm seeing a few similarities there between Todd and myself. I also do the dishes. The similarities end there.
He does them in the sink, though.
What a voice. I quite like doing the dishes in the sink. It's quite therapeutic.
Yeah.
And it does a better job than dishwasher.
Yes.
Love from a Dreich, Glasgow.
Oh, is it
Thank
rainy
you.
there?
It's always rainy in Glasgow, isn't it, Daisy? You know it.
It wasn't when we were there.
No, we
It
were
was
quite,
nice.
we were quite
It was-
lucky with the weather.
It was sunny in Glasgow when I was there.
9 years ago.
Yes. I take all the credit.
Glaswegians probably remember that day.
Yes, yes. It was a great day for Glasgow.
No rights. Okay, no blathering this time. The Gemma Chesney storyline is heartbreaking to watch, and all too really for so many. Nothing says false humility like the prayer hands and nod thing, so would someone please superglue Rowan's hands together the next time he does it? Lastly, Kit, Joel and Rowan, 3 baddies on the show at once. I think we've got a spin-off. It could be called Bad Boys, unless that name's already taken. Well, keep up the good work. I'd be lost without you. Now I'm off to crouch on rooftops and keep this city safe. And I think we may have just kissed goodbye to Jack Black's involvement in our podcast. Thank you, Noel. Our lawyers are... What was that? Yeah, they're out. Carry on. Okay.
Yeah, it's not us saying it. It's not us. It's Noel, who I am now 100% convinced is an American.
Yeah, the Gemma Chesney storyline is heartbreaking. And
It is.
going
It's
back to
infuriating.
Daisy's comment about Joel, I do find Joel kind of panto villain, but in an American Psycho way.
It's weird. In the beginning, when we first found out he was the bad guy, I found him incredibly creepy. And now I don't. It feels like they've pulled back on that a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll talk about that later.
I'm sure. Amy writes, Hi, Helen and Gav. Just writing in response to Helen's recommendation last week. Unfortunately, the Jewish mother is closed.
No! Where am I going to get my borscht the next time I'm in Virginia Beach? Oh, that's so sad. That means that my name on the wall is probably no longer there.
Probably.
So sad. I don't know. What happened to it? Does she say what happened to the building?
Amy gives no more details than that.
Oh,
Since I'm emailing anyway, here is my Coronation Street story. My mum has watched Corrie since she was young, and she is sometimes better than the Coronation Street wiki. I've been watching my whole life and kept up with it even when I moved from Ireland to Japan and now the US. Mum and my Aunt Caroline and I have been on the Corrie tour and would recommend it to any superfan. Caroline and I call around once a week to discuss Corrie and pick apart details like how Max and Harry are cousins but also siblings, or how Ken must sleep in the cupboard since half the street live in number 1. We are loving the podcast. You two absolutely make my day. Keep up the great work, from Amy. Thank you very much, Amy. I appreciate that. And now Helen is thinking about family trees.
that is hilarious. And also, I can see it. I think Harry does have a resemblance to Max a little bit.
Yeah.
In the way they like soft play.
Max likes racist soft play, though. Oh, well, he used to.
Yeah, not anymore.
He's better now.
He's better now.
And Cheeky writes, I have a very complicated set of emotions about this week. On the one hand, I'm very happy that Lauren has been discovered, but knowing that she's in constant danger does not make me feel good. The other thing is that Leanne is not going to know about how bad the Institute is for, I'm guessing, another 2 months, and I hate when stories drag on this show. I was of that opinion, but after this week, I'm thinking it's maybe going to speed up a little bit.
Yeah. I didn't want to mention, but Emrys is back in Palm Springs for the moment, so it kind of feels like he may have already finished recording his episodes on Coronation Street.
It has been a slow burn, this one, but for the most part, I think I've been enjoying it.
I think the final reveal on Friday may be the beginning of the end.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But we will get to that as well. And finally, not feedback as such, but actual physical mail. We got physical mail this week.
Yes, we did.
Mark Llewellyn's book, With Friends Like These. He was kind enough to send us a copy, and I'm about halfway through and thoroughly enjoying it. Mark's got over 30 years' experience in lecturing on the history of Coronation Street. He's a writer, a radio presenter, a publicist, and so has come across many a famous face, and his book, With Friends Like These, is a collection of memoirs about those meetings with those people. It's a fascinating read, told with humour and heart, and is for anyone with an interest in Corrie, but also just British TV in general over the last few decades. Available on Amazon and on audiobook narrated by Mark himself.
Oh.
Which will be out in about a month or so. Highly recommended.
Nice.
Go check it out.
Here I was excited that maybe the show had finally sent our Roy Cropper's Innocent t-shirts to us.
Sadly not. But thank you, Mark, for sending us that copy. We really appreciate it. Very kind of you.
Yes, you're better than the show itself.
Feedback and physical copies of books are always welcome. Send us your thoughts and I will probably read them out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, or our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast. Please note we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interests of brevity and sometimes decency. And now...
Really?
No. We'll podcast for coffee. We're on our own coffees this week. Canada Dry, zero sugar, as always.
Yeah. Cranberry juice, as always.
Remember when we used to mix it up with alcohol? Except I think I just stuck to Coors Light and Jack Daniels, didn't I?
Pretty much. It was a long time ago.
I actually got a hankering for a proper Heineken this week. For the first time in months, I would say.
Did the Heineken Zero last night soothe you?
It passed very quickly, but I was in the QD getting coffee.
Uh-huh.
And then was up getting a peach iced tea.
Ooh.
And walked past the beer cooler section and saw a proper Heineken. I thought, oh, that looks nice. It's a weird thought.
Yeah.
It always just never goes away 100%.
Yeah.
It always kind of lingers as we approach 4 years of the...
There have been moments in the news cycles the past week where I have thought about that the Thanksgiving turkey bottle of Jack Daniels, which is still in the kitchen.
Which has maybe one shot left in it. And there's also a little white wine.
Yes, I know.
Anyway, The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes, but if you think a show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/The Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link, where for as little as $2 a month, you can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And we now have a Patreon site where you can also show us some love and sign up to be a friend of the podcast, patreon.com/The Talk of the Street. But remember, you can always support the podcast for free and get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts. All right.
I listened to the SpongeBob SquareCast Patreon episode that you released today. It's very good.
Yeah.
Very good. It's still a little weird to hear Stelly's voice be so high.
Yeah, I think that one was from 2021. So I think it was one of the older ones that dropped this week. These are all the old Patreon episodes I'm getting rid of.
Maybe even 2020, because it kind of seemed like we were still locked down at the moment. Who knows?
Quite possibly. All right. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
We have a full week to get through this week.
Ah!
And we will start off with Hustling Betsy.
Yeah.
She's a hustler.
Yeah, not like that.
H-U-S-T-L-E-R, hustler.
Not like that, though.
No. On Monday at the factory, Betsy isn't amused by Carla when she isn't treating her job request as her number one priority. And later, Carla is looking for Betsy, who, according to Fizz, has fucked off to the precinct. Fizz, though, does sing Betsy's praises after dobbing her in. She can sew a gusset like nobody's business. So Carla goes looking for Betsy, but runs into those BMX bandits from last week. And they give her some jip and call Roy a perv. And it's a shame he's not dead and all manner of other nasty things. Carla walks away from it. But as she's about to drive away, she sees one of the BMX bandits cycle by, and she sends him arse over tit by opening her car door into his path. Stitch that, you ball bag, she says.
Yes.
And she drives off.
Yes, she does.
But then we see Betsy has seen all this unfold now.
Yeah, very, very convenient for Betsy to be there right then.
Yes.
When she wasn't there a few minutes ago when Carla walked by that exact spot while leaving Betsy a voicemail. Very convenient.
Are you calling this contrived by any chance?
Just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit.
What Carla should have done is called Swain, because they were doing a drug deal over there before the guy drove away on his little bicycle. Things were passing hands.
On his little saw tricycle?
Yeah.
That would be funny.
Yeah.
What got me, though, about that whole setup was Carla opened the door onto the oncoming BMX bandit.
Uh-huh.
Who hit the door from the outside side of it at some speed.
Yes.
And the door did not budge. One would imagine it would have slammed shut back onto Carla.
Huh.
And then they went flying arse over tit. If she'd opened the door away from them as they approach, I think that would have maybe caused a bit more damage and been a little bit more believable. And then when she drove away, there was absolutely no damage whatsoever to the car door.
Nope, no dents. No dents.
But, hey, if Betsy was there conveniently, then I guess conveniently the dents in the door could be miraculously
Correct.
erased.
Yes.
So Carla gets back to the factory, and in her office, she promptly vomits into a waste paper basket, thinking about what she's done. So after a bit, she returns to the scene of the crime, where she is able to see that the boy either isn't dead, or at least went somewhere else to die. Back at the factory, Betsy comes swaggering in, and puts up with some of Carla's snarkiness before revealing what she knows, and demanding a summer job, or she'll grass Carla up to her mum. So when Swain arrives, Carla, who was about to confess, congratulates Betsy on her new job, and Swain is very chuffed by this.
Yes.
Now, at this point, I think some people had their fill of Betsy.
I kind of cooled on Betsy this week a little bit, I have to admit. There's such a thing as being a little too like this.
She's too hustling. She's hustling everybody. She's trying to blackmail everybody.
Right.
And I'm really losing track of it.
And, and having this really smarmy attitude and wanting a summer job and yet not ever being at her job Why do you want a summer job when you're never there?
Right.
I know what teenagers are like.
Yes.
We have 2 of them at the moment. You
They're
know.
the reason I'm wearing my bra.
But her mom is D.S. Swain, a person who kind of feels like is of moral character and fortitude. And I understand the whole rebellion thing, but there's such a thing as too far. Being too far away from what your parent is like.
Well, yeah, I kind of agree, but I'm remembering back to the time where we were introduced to Lisa with Carla, who revealed that since her partner died, Betsy's kind of been acting up ever since then. And this is, I guess, the kind of manifestation of that.
Yeah.
So it's not that she's so much wayward, I think, but more that she's dealing with her grief in a really destructive way.
And it's really weird because she threw away all of Swain's partner's clothes and things to hurt her mother. It kind of feels like if you're grieving this dead person, you wouldn't throw their worldly possessions in the garbage.
Right.
Even if you do want to get back at your mother. So I'm very confused about what Betsy's relationship to her mom's partner was, if any. It feels like they need her to fill this sort of character, but they're not giving us enough reason why this character would be like this. Like, I could understand the whole Joel thing because her mom is a cop. And so she knows about guys like this, and she knows how to use guys like this. That makes sense. But the whole Carla stuff and the whole Beth stuff later on, it feels like, no, she's just nasty.
Yeah, she's coming across as
It's
nasty.
being really nasty. And I don't think that really vibes because, you know, Hope, for example, her dad was a serial killer.
Accidentally.
Right, but he was.
Yeah.
So you can kind of understand why there may be a little bit of bad seed in her. But even Hope loves her family, loves animals, and loves her friends. You know? She can be devilish at times, but she's devilish to the right people for the most part.
Yeah, I feel we're getting half the story about Betsy, and maybe it's not all that reliable coming from Swain, who sees it from very much her perspective. And maybe there's a little bit more to it. But for someone who dresses as well as Betsy does, who has a phone, her constant desire for money, and when she never seems to spend it on anything,
No, except for chips.
seems a little unusual.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm just remembering, I'm trying to remember Bobby and how Bobby's character, well, I think I decided fairly early on that was pro Bobby. And it feels like other people are kind of coming around to that.
Right.
And
We were
and maybe
initially
Betsy is a similar thing.
we were initially anti-Bobby, and now we're for Bobby. We were initially anti-Daisy, and now we're for Daisy. Well, I'm for Daisy.
I come and go, and I was pro Bobby week 1. Go back and listen to it, Helen, it's there. Anyway,
You
on
were
Wednesday,
uncomfortable with the whole
I was uncomfortable with,
disability as a joke thing too.
I very much was, but I was still kind of behind the character. I liked what they were trying to do. Anyway, on Wednesday, Betsy runs into Carla and Nina's Rolls to remind her of the blackmailing arrangement. And so, Carla, we have classic Corrie on YouTube playing at the moment, and Fred has just fallen down a sinkhole. A brilliant moment. After dancing a jig.
He looks like Uncle Fester in that hole.
Where did I get to?
I
I'll
don't
start
know. I
again.
was so distracted by.
On Wednesday, Betsy runs into Carla and Nina's Rolls to remind her of the blackmailing arrangement, and so Carla shouts her breakfast for her. In the factory, Beth is furious that Betsy needs to take an early lunch, and Carla green lights it anyway, which infuriates Beth even more. Privately, Carla tells Betsy not to push her, but Betsy plays tough and reminds her of who is blackmailing whom. She heads off for lunch even earlier than she arranged, and Beth, by this point, is apoplectic with rage, saying that Betsy is walking all over Carla, and Carla's letting her. And this spurs Carla to go to the cop shop to see Swain. She explains that Betsy isn't working at the factory. She literally isn't working. Swain is confused because yesterday Carla seemed to offer her a summer job, but anyway. They're interrupted when Betsy calls to reveal that she's been abandoned in the middle of another storyline, so the two of them go off to get her. Plane. Swain reads Betsy the Riot Act, kinda, and then heads back to work, touching Carla's arm as she goes. Betsy pretends the blackmail stuff was just bants, and she went too far, and can I keep my job, please? Carla promises to think about it because she's got the hots for her mum. So Betsy goes back to the empty factory and gives Beth a fright because Beth is working late and nobody else is. Betsy quickly susses out that Beth, who has told Kirk that she's volunteering at the soup kitchen, is secretly making fake designer gear on the down low. On Friday, Beth tries to pull the wool over Betsy's eyes but has to come clean. This is a victimless crime, but Betsy isn't fooled and demands a cut. Is that 3 scams she's into now? Because she's blackmailing Beth, she's trying to blackmail Carla, and she's blackmailing Joel.
Yeah, it's 3.
Beth has to let Betsy in on the action, but insists that she's boss. She explains how the work is done, but refuses to say who her supplier is. And then the next day, because Friday kind of straddles the day weirdly, Beth and Betsy learn that Carla will be fucking off to Scarborough for the night in another storyline, which will allow them to get some serious counterfeiting done. Swain is in the Rovers later, on her own, without a bag, without a purse, without a jacket, ordering red wine whilst wearing white.
Yes.
And she's there and she ends up getting some low-down goss about Betsy being a work-shy asshole from Sean, of all people.
Right, because Sean doesn't realise that she's Betsy's mum.
Exactly.
Which
and
is hilarious.
Is as far as we get with that this week.
Yes.
So yeah, I feel we kind of covered an awful lot of this at the end of Monday's episode discussion. While Helen is laughing now at firemen lifting a bedraggled Fred out of the sinkhole wearing a yellow helmet.
Fred the Builder.
There he is.
There he is. He's safe now, everybody. We can all relax.
This is from April 2005, I think. That's just randomly come up on the YouTubes. Good stuff.
Yes.
Beth is the most interesting she's been in a while.
Yes.
But now has this counterfeiting racket going on, which again is kind of interesting. Who's she doing this for and why? We don't really find out.
Yeah.
Just some extra beer money, it seems. And where's the justification of a T-shirt being worth $100 just because of the label that seems to be on it?
Right.
Which I tend to agree with, but
yeah,
interesting with her little miner's light on as she's working away.
Because she doesn't want to turn the lights on, but she has to have light. It's like, why don't you just take a sewing machine home? Or why don't you just have a sewing machine at home?
Right. Because she's not using the factory's supplies.
Well, the thread.
Apart from the thread in the machine, because she's getting the T-shirts delivered to her and the labels delivered to her.
Right.
But yeah, it was a good touch to have her with the miner's light on.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why Betsy was there. Was she just didn't wait for Carla?
No, she saw Beth go into the factory.
Right. That's right. So
and
she's
it's
just
like,
nosy.
Why is she going in there when she's not working?
Yeah. I'm keeping an open mind about Betsy. I think she was kind of nasty this week. I'm sure we'll find out the reasons why.
Right, because there were moments where she could have shown some empathy for people, like when she goes to harass Carla about the summer position again, and Carla says, "Look, I can't deal with this right now. One of my best friends just had a major heart attack." And instead of like apologizing, Betsy's just kind of like, "Well, excuse me." And it's like,
but even before that, when Carla says, "I can't deal with that right now," and Betsy immediately fires back, "Why not?"
Yeah.
And that's just such a confrontational thing to say to somebody.
And very childish. You know? It's like, before, and when she's dealing with Joel, she seems older than her years. But here, she seems very much younger and spoilt and bratty.
You know who she's reminding me of? Tracy. A younger Tracy.
Yeah, maybe a little.
She's got that I'm the main character in the storyline kind of syndrome.
Right, yeah.
The world revolves around me.
Carla had said to her at
She
least
pointed that out.
once.
Mhm.
Yeah, not everything is about you.
Yep.
Girl who just started working here.
Yeah. Because out of the two of them, Carla's the main character, let's face it.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to our next storyline, Tinker's very best friend.
Aww.
On Monday, in Nina's roles, Kit takes a seat with Kirk and quizzes him about our Craigie. According to Kirk, Craig is as honest as the day is long and is in no way, shape or form bent. And he explains how Craig was instrumental in getting Neil lifted. And this, I think, is a mistake that Kirk makes. Because later, Kit bumps into PC Tinker, tells him all about racist Kelly from another storyline, and invites him to join them interviewing the nurse at the hospital. And then we can grab a few pots, would you think? Tinks is all over this. Comes in his pants a wee bit. A friend at last. So in the pub later, Kit gets the beers in, although is careful just to order a pint of zero for himself.
Yes.
And when Tinker apologises again for insinuating that Kit got Gemma off, Kit explains that...
But not like that.
No.
No incest.
No.
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 Cease.
You're the one who said it.
Kit explains that they all massage the rules from time to time.
Right, yes, which is not creepy at all.
Tinker is pretty drunk by the time he admits that he massaged a rule or two himself.
But he did it for love,
for-
so it's okay.
For his ex-girlfriend and somebody else who is no longer in the area, and despite Kit pressing him on this, Tinker just taps his nose and says he will take this to his grave and refuses to go into more details, and that's as far as we get with that this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was fascinating,
Yes.
because here, if Kit knows that Craig was instrumental in getting Neil lifted and knows that Neil was part of Nathan's grooming gang, then Kit can manufacture some cause for Tinker to be the one to plant the hair in
We're playing
Nathan's
3D chess here.
van. Yeah, that's where I see this is going, or where Kit would like to take it, and that covers him off just
And
at
also
the expense
just
of Tinker.
double blackmail for, the fact that Tinker seemed to insinuate that he was going to keep that knowledge about Gemma.
Just for we're tapping our noses here.
We watched The Sting this week, so we're tapping our noses.
Tapping our noses, just the side of our nose a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, I've loved this. This is all because of Kirk mentioning Neil or that cop. Because it'll take Kit no time at all to figure out the details about this, and probably find out as well that Craig and Bethany, in inverted commas, dated for a while.
Right.
So
And
that-
also,
so that gives Craig even more motive to do what he can to put Nathan back behind bars.
right.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Kit's one for the watching,
He is.
but he's a compelling presence.
Yeah, and it's interesting that he's one for the watching in a variety of different ways, and in a variety of different storylines. They've really integrated him well within the street, and I like that.
And I've done so very quickly because it feels like he's been there for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying that an awful lot. Really keen to see where that one goes.
yeah. I haven't felt this way that a character just like immediately is part of the street since Glenda.
So glad that they're not focusing on him and Sarah.
Yeah, not
If
yet.
that was going to be a thing, where they've got them focused is far more interesting
Yes,
than that.
absolutely.
And this has got a bit of thought behind it. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
There's plenty of time for the whole Sarah bang.
Sure. They'll get round to it
Eventually.
eventually, right? She's bound to. All right. We'll move on to our next storyline, which is reality coding bites. On Monday, in the bistro, Leanne is bragging to Amy about being a level 6 motherfucker now. Amy likes the Institute, but she just doesn't have the time to dedicate to it at the moment. Meanwhile, Toya's due her CT scan, and it's Nick who offers to take her because Leanne is too busy with Ames. But Leanne's pep talk takes a turn when Amy reveals she has Deirdre's money, and Leanne, again desperate to get Amy to be involved
Leanne
here,
should already know about.
right, shows Amy the Oliver AI video. Hello, mummy. And
Look, it's your sister.
and asks Amy if she wants to speak to her brother. Amy takes one look at this and does a fucking runner.
Yes, she does. And it's like, bravo, Amy.
Stop showing people this video, Leanne.
Nobody wants to see this.
Oh my God.
Ay, ay, ay. And it's like,
And I'm just waiting for AI Deirdre to show up. Please, no. Here's how your granny Deirdre would be if she was still alive. Ah!
no.
Eesh. On Wednesday, at the bistro, Leanne and Nick are concerned about Toya being back at work, but she insists she's fine and working keeps her occupied. And this passes for good spirits as far as Leanne is concerned. Rowan comes in to speak to her, worried that Amy seems to have cooled, which is Leanne's stupid fault for the Oliver AI thing. Rowan reminds her that the AI thing isn't the only thing that the Institute offers, and reminds her of her tenacity and tells her to try harder. So Leanne meets Amy at the florist and apologises for the AI creepiness yesterday. Don't let that put you off the Institute, she says. And she even offers to help with the florist books to get Amy back on side because she's struggling now that Tracy's fucked off to Spain.
Right, and Mary's no good with numbers.
Mary's no good. She doesn't
With
do numbers.
Yeah, she's no good with numbers. She's good with lots of other things.
Later, Rowan meets Leanne in Nina's roles. Amy has signed up for the retreat after all, and Rowan is so impressed that he offers Leanne the opportunity to invest £40,000 into a new resource centre, whatever that means. Leanne pisses herself with excitement, and she's giddy when she tells Nick and Toya about the opportunity. Over my dead fucking body, says Nick, and he suggests that Leanne focuses on her sister, who had another turn at work and nearly fell over, which sounds very much like he pushed Mike. Toya nearly fell over.
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
We're sending help immediately, Mrs. Fletcher.
Yeah, but still.
Leanne agrees and goes to break the news to Rowan that Nick has put the kibosh on the investment. Well, let's see if I can convince old Nick to change his mind, says Rowan, and then he starts cackling maniacally. He also casually suggests that maybe Leanne has outgrown that relationship. On Friday, Toya and Nick are still fuming about the resource centre pish. Sam comes in and offers to help, and he does a reverse image search on Voggle on Rowan's picture, which turns up no results.
Which is weird. That's weird, right? Because the Institute should have a website, one would think. And Rowan's picture would be on it. And also the Institute would be on social media and have Rowan's picture on it. There's no way there are no pictures of Rowan on the internet.
I'll tell you why.
Plot.
No. Voggle is a piece of shit.
That's all right. Google is pretty much a piece of shit these days as well.
It produces some strange results for image searches, which I
Well,
can kind of understand.
not just image searches. Not just image searches.
Oh, hold on. Okay, go.
When I was researching awards for Coronation Street, it was showing me like awards that Coronation Street won in like 2003. And then Coronation Street winning awards for things that are not soap operas.
That would have been funny if you came on and said that up for Best Newcomer, Katie Harris. For Best Falling Down a Sinkhole, Fred Elliott. Oh, cackling maniacally.
Yeah, no, I had to like scroll all the way down. And then I had to scroll up and change it from Coronation Street Awards winner to Coronation Street Awards Winners 2024. And even then I had to scroll down some ways. I did a Google search for list of lists the other day and got weird results as well. Oh, I think it was like for the host. And for like one of the years when there was no host, the AI response was that it was like Bob Hope and Frank Sinatra and Carol Burnett and David Niven and Santa Claus.
I don't think I believe you.
All right, I'm lying about the Santa Claus.
At the bistro, Rowan visits Nick and reveals his big blackmailing scam. God, it's blackmailing week on Corrie, isn't it? Either invest in the resource centre, whatever that is, or everyone finds out that Nick got his hole off of Toya. Nick wonders what Leanne would make of him being a blackmailer. Let's hope she never finds out, says Rowan. When Leanne comes in, they act all civil-like, and Nick promises to look over the numbers. Leanne is thrilled. Nick goes to explain to Toya exactly how effed in the A they are. And next day, Rowan is back to talk about the investment some more at the bistro. Meanwhile, Toya gets a call about her results, gets an appointment for tomorrow. And after that, she notices that Rowan's jacket is left unattended, and secretly she goes through his wallet. She runs back to the flat, while Nick offers 20k to Rowan. Any more and the bistro will have to close. And then when Leanne gets back to the flat, Toya has learned quite a bit about Rowan thanks to the contents of his wallet. His real name is Durex Ribbed. No. His real name is Luke, and he's been done for aggravated assault and robbery.
Yes, because she did a reverse image search on an older picture.
On his driver's license.
Which had shorter hair.
And was in 4K. And he looked hunk of the month in his driving license photo.
It's like the reverse image search that Sam ran earlier would have gotten the same results because his face hasn't changed, just his hair.
She shows Leanne I got Weather Gazette here, but I don't think it was a Weather Gazette article. It was a newspaper article about the incident, which Leanne is gobsmacked to see, and that's as far as we get with that.
And she insists that it's fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news. And they have to explain to her it's not fake news because it's from before fake news.
Yeah, and it's from something like the Weather Gazette, not CNN.
Right. Yes.
Picking up a bit of pace here. This felt like we're getting like a month's worth of story in 3 short episodes.
Yeah.
Because this was never the main story at all this week, but we got quite far on in it.
Absolutely.
You got Amy getting signed up for it, despite looking like she was running a mile.
Yeah.
And then we got Toya being Detective Toya and finding out that this guy's name is Luke, not Rowan. This is getting to the business end of this, I think.
Yes.
Or so it feels like, because Leanne she can't just explain this away. And it does change everything, because with Luke/Rowan being an ex-con, having done his 5 years or whatever it was that he got for this aggravated assault and robbery, it puts a very different spin on the business that he's doing at the moment. He's very much just a con artist.
Yes.
Because you could say, and I saw a script scene on Twitter mentioning something about, well, if you're selling something to somebody and they're happy with it,
what's the harm?
No harm, no foul. But yeah, if you're going deliberately out of your way to get vulnerable people, then that makes you a bit of a shitbag.
And get the money of vulnerable people.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Deirdre's money is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back here.
Well,
Ken's not going to... But see, here's the thing. Ken's not going to let Amy take that money. Not. Every time one of those grandkids asks for some of Granny Deirdre's money, Ken is like, no. Because he's already spent it.
He's spent it all on thigh-length kimonos for himself. A dirty, dirty man.
And 8 tracks of classical music.
Well, that would suggest that this story's got a little bit further to run then. I was glad that Nick just couldn't rustle up 40 grand, though. I'm still a bit surprised that he can rustle up 20 grand.
Yeah, from the business accounts.
Because the business is always in dire straits, isn't it? They're going from one emergency to another.
Well, they claim that, but you know what? Every small business person claims that all the time, whether it's true or not.
I guess. But hey, Rowan's played his ace card here.
Yeah.
That's all out in the open. We're maybe relying a little bit too much on blackmail this week.
Just a wee bit.
But still, I quite liked how this developed. All right. Next up, it's the curse of the Winter Browns. On Wednesday at the courthouse, Gemma is worried about being evicted. Chesney points out that they're on a council waiting list. So hey, it could be worse. And also he's spoken to Billy. And Billy says that they'd get emergency housing anyway.
Right.
In the pub, they're with Kit, and he explains the ins and outs of emergency housing. Then Brian announces that one of his customers are moving out of their rented accommodation in Balaclava Terrace and agrees to get more details. Now, as this is happening and Kit is at the bar, Kit has a smell the fart moment and kind of looks in the distance a little bit. Do you think Kit's maybe going to put them up in his lovely house?
Maybe.
Because remember,
Kit's
got a lovely house.
He's got a big ass house and he's all by himself in there.
It's not George size proportions, but it's still a lovely house.
Yeah.
And we assume he's there on his own.
Well, his mom's dead, so. And he's not dating anybody. And he has no kids of his own.
Right.
And there was nobody else in that house, not even a dog.
Big old house.
Big old house.
Would look like he's got room for it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, he had a kind of look about him as they were discussing this, and the camera lingered on him just a little too long for it to be nothing.
Yeah.
So anyway, Gemma immediately has her heart set on this place, but then Chesney comes back after checking it out, and it seems there was a queue of potential viewers, and it's already gone.
Yeah.
Great job, Brian. Fuck's sake. So...
He tried, though, and that's nice.
Plan B. Granny Linda's been in touch, and she says that Joseph can go live with her in her new pad in Manchester for a bit.
Yeah.
Which Chesney thinks is going to make it easier for them to find a new place, which is kind of weird unless Chesney thinks that Joseph is actively hindering the search.
Or it's just one less child. But...
He's still going to have to move into it.
Right, yeah. I don't know.
Gemma's against the idea. We're a family. We stick together. Apart from Granny Linda, she can fuck off.
Right, yeah. And apart from my own mother, who can also fuck off.
Yep.
And I'm speaking as Gemma, not as myself.
On Friday, Bernie goes to the courthouse, but is still persona non grata. She's heard about Granny Linda's devious plan for Joseph and says all the kids can stay at number 7 if push comes to shove. And if Dev knows about this.
He does.
Where's he getting in the room?
He's shacking up with Bernie. It's fine.
Yeah, and Asha and Addie. And 6 children?
5 children.
Joseph. Well, yeah, Joseph in the quads.
Quads.
Yeah. Yes.
Is 4.
Okay, for a second.
And
now,
Joseph
where
makes
you would be trying to justify this, I'm accepting that I fucked up.
Yay!
I invite you to admit to doing the
has
same.
accepted that he has fucked up. It's so nice to hear.
Where is Dev getting all the room?
Well, maybe
On the roof?
Addie and the little girls can stay with Asha and the little boys can stay with Addie. They'll be fine with it.
Thankfully, Gemma angrily knocks it back. At the store, Bernie learns how Paul is doing, which is not well, from Summer, and Bernie blames Kit for driving this wedge between her and her kids. Summer goes back to the God flat to explain her run-in with Bernie, and at that, Bernie shows up, and Billy says that she's like...
A ray of sunshine.
Nope.
No, she's like the Candyman, which was a weird reference for a preacher to make. Do you think he means the original Candyman movie? Or was it 2019 Candyman movie?
Oh, no, it's far more recent than that.
Which one do you think Billy's watched?
I don't care.
You don't want to hazard a guess?
The first one.
Okay.
Based on, nothing. We're basing that on nothing. I don't think that Candyman would be is that a go? I don't know if that's a go-to in the UK for say their name 3 times and they appear.
You guys have Bloody Mary, though, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be the reference.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe the the Bloody Mary demographic is thinner on the ground, so going for a
Right.
more up-to-date Candyman
Yeah,
reference is what
maybe-
the kids are doing with these days.
Maybe they didn't want to reference a monarch with blood on their head. I did both when I was a kid. Candyman and Bloody Mary. And also light as a feather, stiff as a board.
I don't think I've done any.
Really? You never looked in a mirror and said Bloody Mary 3
I
times?
don't think so.
And then turned the lights off?
No.
Then turn them back on?
No.
And seen Bloody Mary behind you?
No.
Scared the crap out of yourself?
Never happened.
Did you do anything like that?
No.
Anything spooky?
Did Ouija board.
Okay. Was it spooky?
Yeah, we contacted a spirit called Vuku the Unseen, who told us to don't look up. Somebody was moving it, obviously.
Obviously. Fuku.
I've since looked up Vuku the Unseen and doesn't exist.
Right.
But also, if you're Vuku the Unseen, why would you tell somebody not to look up?
Well, because there's something other than Vuku the Unseen on the ceiling.
A convenient story.
Yes, it's Ewan McGregor.
Says you Vuku the Unseen sympathiser. Summer goes back to the God flat to explain her running with Bernie and all that. And then Bernie shows up. Paul is in bad shape, but through his machine, he says that he's tired of everyone fighting. Privately, Summer tells Billy how worried she is about Paul and how she reckons maybe he's given up. Billy refuses to talk about it, while Paul announces via his machine how he's going to bang Gemma, Kit, and Bernie's heads together.
Okay, so Paul has forgiven his mother then. It kind of seems like
More so than Gemma, certainly.
I don't think we've ever heard. I don't think he has said, "I'm sorry, Mom, and I love you."
Well, Paul's situation's slightly different.
Yeah.
He's stuck there in that chair.
Right.
He can't escape her. He can't stop her from kissing his forehead.
Right, and he can't really speak.
So he might as well just, fucking hell, just...
Fine.
I've only got days, maybe, left. Billy did mention when his time is up again.
Right.
For the first time in the longest time.
Absolutely.
That conversation
And also,
happened.
have they restocked? Do they have enough pills?
Well, I don't think Liam took all the benzos.
Well, no, because
he
he'd be
didn't
dead.
die. Right.
I'm curious.
I have to imagine that they're all set in benzos for when the time comes. But it was relieving to hear that was, I guess, still the plan as far as Billy was concerned, because by them not mentioning it since the benzos got stolen, and
Right.
quite some time before that probably, I wondered if Billy was maybe going to go back on the promise that he made, but...
It sounds like he's still there and
Yeah.
he's still in agreement.
Yes.
As much as it pains him.
Right. Granny Linda's idea for Joseph, you pro that idea?
See, I probably would be pro that idea, because Granny Linda is not the quad's granny.
Gemma's got such a bee in her bonnet about
I know.
this, though.
And yeah, and I don't... I feel like she shouldn't have a bee in her bonnet about this, because I feel like it hinders Joseph's relationship with his grandmother. And she shouldn't be doing that. She shouldn't be creating a wedge between Joseph and his grandmother.
I feel, though, that we've agreed in the past that Granny Linda shouldn't be treating Joseph and the quads differently.
But I also don't expect her to take all 5 children. But if she's willing to take the one that she's actually related to and help out in that way, I think that's rather nice. Honestly, what should be happening is Granny Linda inviting them all there, including Gemma and Chesney. Because if she invites Gemma and Chesney, then it makes sense for the quads to go as well, because there are 2 other adults there. Do you really want to throw 5 children, one of whom is deaf, on a 60-something-year-old woman? I don't think so.
She's sprightly.
Yeah, but she's also still in her 60s.
Or can Granny Linda not just buy the house?
It feels, well, who knows? Maybe that's what's going to happen. Because Because something's going to happen, and they're not going to build a new set for them.
No, of course not. They ain't moving out.
No.
So somebody's buying that.
One would think.
Granny Linda
has the money.
Seems to be the top choice. That kind of makes sense. But then why wouldn't she just say, look, I'll just buy it as an investment?
Right.
Even though she's just bought a house in Manchester somewhere. This feels the Rovers is shutting all over again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Would they move somewhere else? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we've only just now seen the inside of Joel's apartment this week. Maybe they'll move in there.
That's not even his apartment.
It is his apartment. He lied.
Oh, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
He lied. That's his apartment. That he's the one who's moving out because he's moving in with Dee Dee.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
It does make sense. So, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, that's the thing with this show, isn't it? That there's only so much you can believe because you know they're not going to build a new house on that set.
Until the day comes when they call her bluff and kill all the Winter Browns. A rogue, enormous refrigerator accident. Until that day.
Too much ice falling out of the refrigerator.
All drowned under ice.
Started to look like Drake's house.
All pushed up to the window. I don't get that joke. I'm sure it's funny.
Drake's house in Toronto flooded this week, and he was like showing video of all the yellow water just gushing through his mansion.
Oh, yellow water?
Well, it's like brownish yellow. It's like chocolate.
Oh.
He made a joke about coffee martinis.
Yeah, but nobody else is thinking chocolate martinis, Drake. They're thinking shit.
Yeah, but it was because of the mass flooding from the rain.
Sure.
It wasn't really shit.
Sure. All right.
Anyway.
Our penultimate storyline this week is Bully for You. On Friday, Dylan is at speed dial looking for a job and is interviewed by Stu, who's in the mood to give him a chance on a trial basis tomorrow.
Yes, because Dylan says something about second chances and how nobody wants to give him a second chance and everybody believes he's a bad kid because of one mistake. And that's how you get to Stu's heart.
That's Stu's kryptonite right there.
Yep.
Later, Stu is coming home with 4 pints of milk, I think, when he sees Mason pitching a tent. Not like that.
Well, spreading a sleeping bag.
Yeah, it was funny pitching a tent, though.
Not enough room for a tent in there.
He's pitching a tent, but not like that. In a doorway round the corner, and Stu, previously homeless himself, just passes by.
He pauses.
And then keeps on walking.
Right.
Later in speed dial, Maria explains to Sean and Dylan that Mason's out. Sean tells Dylan that everything will be fine, but Dylan doesn't look like he's fallen for that. And the next day, it's the last day of term, and Liam and Dylan meet up at the bus stop. They talk about Mason and agree it's not thrilling news. Liam wants them to stick together. Dylan just doesn't want to talk about it. And later, Stu turns up in the Rovers to say that Dylan didn't show up for his trial shift. Sean says he had stuff in his mind, so they arranged to give it another go tomorrow. And that's as far as we get with that. So this interested me.
Yes.
From the Mason point of view.
Yeah.
I didn't expect Mason to be coming out of prison and becoming homeless.
Yeah.
So his family's kicked him out.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that they can do legally.
Well, how old is he?
Well, he's still at school, so 17? 16 maybe?
He's not very bright, let's remember.
He's not very bright. But I think you get released on... Don't you get released on the assumption that you have somewhere to go?
Yes.
You're going to release people onto the street. Maybe that's what happens. I have no idea. But it seems kind of off. But I wasn't expecting that. And now... a Mason redemption storyline in the offing, do you think?
I hope not, because I'm already still not convinced that racist Kelly deserves the redemption arc that we've been given to her, because obviously we are sympathetic towards a pregnant woman.
Yeah, the show's desperate to get us to forget about that. We'll get to her storyline in a moment, but
yes.
from the Mason point of view, I can't think of any other reason for him to be homeless other than we're supposed to feel sorry for him.
Right, yeah.
And maybe this is him getting taken in by somebody. Stu, maybe? Oh, God, no.
No! And he can't live at Eileen's because there's not enough room.
I have nothing against the actor who I think does a great job in being a horrible, horrible character.
Right.
But as far as the character's concerned, we have enough villainy on the street as it is. As was mentioned in our feedback section.
Absolutely.
They're fighting for screen time, the amount of villains that we've got in the show at the moment. We don't need another one.
We really don't. And we really don't want to give Mason a redemption arc that easily.
No.
Where, he's homeless now, so now we are sad, and now we want what's best for him. He hasn't apologized yet. He hasn't redeemed himself in any way.
No.
He just brought a sleeping bag. Where did he get the sleeping bag? His parents throw him out and then throw a sleeping bag at him? Maybe that would have been hilarious. I want to see that.
Of course, he may well be still the evil asshole that he was a few months ago, but this definitely has me worried for where they're taking it. All right. Our final storyline tonight is where in the world is Irish racist Kelly? Roy is being visited by Nina and Dee at the hospital. He's unconscious and unshaven, but when he comes round again, he tells Nina that he was visited by racist Kelly and he's sure that she's alive. She's alive!
It's alive!
Outside, Nina and Dee Dee are approached by one of the nurses who looks like Craig from 5 years ago. He says Roy is a popular chap, what with them and that blonde racist wee lassie in the leopard print coat who visited yesterday. Racist Kelly really is alive, says Nina. Back in the street, Dee Dee has a word with Bethany in Nina's roles. Joel arrives and has to explain the scratches on his face as being from that disgruntled client. Yeah, racist Kelly got him good. Dee Dee tells Bethany that racist Kelly is alive, in possession of a leopard print coat, and the cops are looking at the CCTV, and Joel poops his pants a wee bit. Bethany resolves to find racist Kelly, who has gone to ground again. Joel urges calm until they hear from the police and then has to rush off. Where are you going? Says Dee Dee. I'm going to work, says Joel. And rightfully so. These two are lawyers. They should be working.
Yes.
They don't have time to be going on no Mystery Incorporated tour of the northwest of England.
Well.
Although they do.
Yes, they do. Joel and Dee Dee's relationship. It's weird, isn't it? It's weird.
What way?
I don't know.
Oh, well, then yes, I agree.
Well, it's just... I think part of it is the fact that we know something Dee Dee doesn't. And so it makes it feel weird.
I think even if Joel was a top bloke, there's something weird with their relationship.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about the no sex part.
No.
The celibacy. I'm cool with that. Actually, I'm really cool with that. I feel like that's a very interesting storyline. And
that's not been...
And if that was the storyline, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's not been looked at at all.
Yeah. It's just barely scratched the surface. But the fact that they're constantly saying to one another, oh, where are you? Or where are you going? You know? They seem very codependent upon one another. And I don't really understand. I don't understand Joel. I don't understand, because he seems to genuinely love Dee Dee.
Yeah, I think he does.
And also loves having sex with underage girls.
He loves that.
Manipulating them and terrifying them and terrorizing them. And I know this is the case with some serial killers. You know, some of them are the John Wayne Gacy's who are loners. And although he wasn't really kind of a loner, he was a politician. People loved him, which is why they hired him to be clowns at their kids' parties. But, you know, you have the loners the ones who aren't married and stuff. But then you have the ones that are married with kids and their wives have no idea. And they're able to live the double life and everything and genuinely love their families while also brutally murdering people.
Yeah.
So...
And that is what they're tapping into here.
Yeah. And it's just, there's something about it that doesn't really work for me in the case of Dee Dee and Joel, and I can't quite put my finger on it.
I think you're right. They are constantly wondering where each other are, despite the fact that they're both lawyers.
Right, yeah, and they should both be working.
And they should both be working 16-hour days.
Right.
Every day.
And they both use, I'm going to see a client as a way to lie to one another.
Mm-hmm.
They both, Dee Dee does it as well.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't do it to terrorize young women.
Let's hope not.
But she does do it as well. And it kind of makes you wonder if they both realize that the other is lying to them when they say, I'm going to see a client.
Yeah, they don't
ever
investigate
get more
too much
specific than
themselves,
that. Right.
hoping that the other one doesn't
Right,
worry about
exactly.
it too much either. Meanwhile, Nina, furious that racist Kelly didn't come forward sooner, brings Roy up to speed with all this, and he is elated and keen to hear racist Kelly's side of the story. Later, Joel is staking out racist Kelly's flat, but draws a blank and leaves in a hurry when Evelyn spots him. At Sarah's flat, Bethany is looking for the credit card statement and brings her mum up to speed, explaining her plan to find racist Kelly, which obviously worries Sarah.
Swain.
Joel is back on the street in his car and he watches Swain explain to Dee Dee that the girl on the CCTV was racist Kelly. Joel tries to drive away hurriedly.
Yes, because Dee Dee sees the car, and of course he can't hear their conversation.
Right.
So he thinks that he has also been spotted on the CCTV. And I don't understand how he's not been spotted on the CCTV, especially the CCTV right outside the hospital where it would have shown him chasing racist Kelly.
I don't think they're looking for him. I think it's that simple. They're just not looking for him. They're looking for a girl in a leopard print coat.
Right.
And when they find her, their interest stops.
Well, they find her, but they also need to confirm that she's racist Kelly, and also, who is she with? They didn't see, her come out of that room, and then Joel also come out of that room, or did they just stop looking at it once she came out of the room?
Yeah. So, Joel tries to drive off, but spotted by Dee Dee, which makes it super weird. Where are you driving off to? But they go off. He says he's away back to work. They go off to Nina's Rolls, where Sarah reveals that she's worried that if racist Kelly is alive, Nathan didn't murder her, and if Nathan didn't murder her, he'll get let go, and if he gets let go, Bethany will fall to pieces.
Yeah. Thanks for being so empathetic towards poor racist Kelly there, Sarah.
Oh, she doesn't care.
Why are you... You're basically saying, I'm sad that girl isn't dead.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Do
you hear yourself?
It would be better for everyone if racist Kelly was dead.
Right. Yes, because then poor wee Bethany couldn't get terrorized.
She explains Bethany's plan with the credit card statements, and this piques Joel's interest, and he fakes...
How infuriating is it that Joel is on every one of these conversations?
Yeah.
Every one of these conversations.
It's quite funny because he calls Bethany a regular Tintin. He dips off and tailgates and crowbars his way into Sarah's flat looking for those statements.
If anybody looks like Tintin on the show, it's Gary.
Yeah.
They have the same hair.
But he's disturbed when Sarah comes home and realises that she's been robbed. When she goes off to check the bedrooms, Joel, who was hiding behind the breakfast counter, clops out in his clippity-cloppity shoes and makes good his escape. In the pub.
Because the way he got in was with a crowbar.
Yeah.
He's not subtle.
No. And again, the fact that you could just go into somebody's house and find these 3 pieces of paper out of everything that's in their house seems a bit far-fetched. In the pub, Sarah, Bethany, Joel and Dee Dee are discussing the mysterious burglary where nothing was taken. Bethany thinks it's curious that this happens on the day that everyone knows racist Kelly's alive, and she resolves to find her herself. And Joel says, I'm with Tintin, and offers to help. And seems to win round Bethany by doing so.
Yes. Because let's remember, because the show seems to have forgotten, Bethany was suspicious of Joel.
Yes. And was right to be
And
suspicious, as we
all
found
of a
out.
sudden is no longer suspicious of Joel.
On Wednesday, Racist Kelly is slumming it in a squat somewhere, eating nail clippings off the floor. Meanwhile, Dee Dee and Joel have booked their wedding for September the 27th, despite Joel not being officially divorced yet. They'll have known each other for about a year at that point. Joel's scratch has cleared up nicely, and he meets up with Bethany, and they go through the statements to get clues of Racist Kelly's whereabouts. According to PC Tinker, the police are all guns blazing trying to track her down. Well done, Tinks.
Well done.
Another exclusive story from PC Tinker. Then Joel gets a message from Betsy demanding more money. Meanwhile, at the flat, Dee Dee sees some bank statements that Joel left behind. These are statements for the Lazarus media company in that London, the company that Bethany used to work for. And she goes to see Bethany, who's about to head to Leicester to check out and look for Racist Kelly. But Dee Dee has noticed from the statements that Racist Kelly bought a train ticket to Warrington, so they head off there instead. At the hospital, Nina brings Roy up to speed with all the latest developments in the Racist Kelly situation, and it seems Roy has been given a leaflet and will be discharged today, which very much sounds like the NHS in the 21st century.
Yes.
In Warrington, Dee Dee and Bethany find a woman who knows Racist Kelly, but they're reluctant to give more details other than she's been to a soup kitchen. So Bethany uses her charm and chunky jewellery, and not only discovers that Racist Kelly's squatting in an old pub, but that she is up the duff. Holy fucking mackerel, says Dee Dee. Roy is back home, I think 2 days after a heart attack and open heart surgery.
Yes. Now, my darling, you will recall New Year's Eve, 2021. My father had a heart attack in Florida, and I left to go down there while he was in the hospital. How long was my father in the hospital with a heart attack?
He was in the hospital for a while.
Yes. At least a month.
He was still in the hospital when you left, wasn't he?
He was in the rehab facility by that time. So he wasn't in the hospital, but he was in rehab.
Because were you there for 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
I was there for nearly a month, yeah. 3 weeks. But still, it was a long time.
That was a while, yeah.
And then he had to go to a rehabilitation facility to get rehabilitation because he still couldn't function on his own. He was just out of danger of dying at that point. It is something that knocks you down.
And he didn't get surgery, did he?
Quite a bit.
He did get surgery?
He did get surgery before I got there. In the first hospital, I believe.
He's got a bypass.
Yeah. So
Which I think is
stent.
He
had a stent put in, which is not nearly as invasive as what Roy got, because Roy got the bypass.
Yes.
And he's walking around. He's walking around 2 days after.
And he's keen to get back involved in that search for Racist Kelly.
It's a miracle of science. God bless the NHS.
I think
it's so ridiculous. The show.
Roy recovered in about the same time as it took Joel's scratches to disappear.
Yeah.
Well done,
Which
Roy.
was also
immediately
far too quick.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Betsy's in Joel's car trying to get more money out of him for a phone, but Joel gets a call from Dee Dee in a storyline.
Betsy! Phone!
In another storyline, and learns that she knows about Racist Kelly's location and conditions, so basically chucks Betsy out in the middle of nowhere, but still in town. In the squat, Racist Kelly catches wind that people are looking for her, so does a runner just as Dee Dee and Bethany show up, but she runs out the back and basically right into Joel's arms, where she promptly collapses.
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
We're sending help immediately, Mrs. Fletcher.
He tells her how much he cares about her and the baby when Dee Dee and Bethany appear. Say nothing and I'll make it worth your while, whispers Joel, and before Racist Kelly can say anything, they whisk her off to the hospital.
Twice in a storyline.
Racist Kelly is seen, and apart from trace levels of racism, she and the baby are fine. Bethany decides to go home. Dee Dee goes off to give Roy an update, which leaves Joel conveniently alone. Back at Nina's rolls, after speaking with Leanne, Nina has had the brilliant idea of posting Roy off to see Cathy, where he can't get into any more trouble, and Roy doesn't seem totally against the idea. Joel goes to see Racist Kelly and asks her to lie to the police, saying that it was Nathan who attacked her, but she doesn't want to press charges. That's very important. In return, he'll put her up in a nice, safe flat, free of charge. He reminds her that he's the only person looking out for her.
Which is not true.
He hides behind a curtain as Swain comes in, looking for some answers from Racist Kelly. So on Friday, after some thought, Racist Kelly says that Nathan Curtis was the one what attacked her, and she sticks to Joel's plan. She says she doesn't want to press charges, and she tells Swain to fuck off. So Swain fucks off and explains what happened to Dee Dee and Joel, which frustrates Dee Dee, but gives Joel a bit of a boner. Shame, he says. Dee Dee goes off to take a call, which lets Joel go in to thank Racist Kelly. She announces that she wants to live in Ireland, and she wants it sorted now. Joel
Good for her.
promises to get working on it and offers to put Irish Racist Kelly up in a hotel in the meantime. And he leaves just as Dee Dee, Max and Bobby
Phone!
come in. Racist Kelly is overcome with joy. Bobby reckons that he might get his hole after all at some point this century.
Right, yeah, and he doesn't even have to worry about knocking her up.
Nope. Yeah, that's a good thing, isn't it?
It is.
They catch up, and Max describes the chaos that she left when she went missing. Chaos, particularly for Roy and Daniel. He wants her to move back to Weatherfield, but will understand if she doesn't want to. Racist Kelly says there's someone that she needs to see, so she goes back to Nina's Rolls to see Roy. And he's relieved to see her, and she is genuinely sorry. He's not sure why, and doesn't blame her in the slightest, which is kind of stupid. She explains how grateful she was for his help and friendship, and says that she couldn't come back once she knew that she was pregnant just wasn't safe. He says that she was a victim in all this too, and offers her a roof for the night, which she declines. She hugs him, and then hurriedly leaves, advising him to shave, for fuck's sake. She meets up with the lads in the pub where Izzy's not pleased to see her. Izzy knows Racist Kelly?
Right, that was weird, wasn't it? It was weird.
And Racist Kelly knows Izzy?
Right, yeah, because she like perks up and says, "Hi, Izzy." And Izzy's like, oh, somebody's calling me over there.
I need to go for a shite.
Right. And I'm like, how do they know each other?
From the calf? That's the only thing I can think of.
Right, yeah, she would kind of get to know everybody. But it's kind of weird that it's Izzy.
Yeah, that's our quarterly viewing of Izzy, by the way.
Yeah.
And that'll take us through to the autumn.
Which is a wee shame.
That is.
We got
We
so
did
much.
see her a little later on in the factory.
We got so much of her during the whole Stephen storyline. And she was good fun.
Yep.
And I missed that.
Bobby,
Not Stephen, though.
Bobby offers Racist Kelly his bed while she waits for her place in a refuge or something. So back at Carla's, Racist Kelly nips off for a shite just as Carla comes in, and she is not amused by her house guest. Are you fucking kidding me, Bobby? Racist Kelly's not welcome here, and Carla is less forgiving than Roy and blames her for everything. And tearfully, Racist Kelly runs out. Bobby calls the situation more complicated than Carla gives it credit for, but she's sticking to her ground. Meanwhile, Racist Kelly's on her way to the tram stop and is picked up by Joel, who takes her to the rape hotel. And there, she spends the night. Alone. The next day, he calls her in her room and tells her that she needs to move out, as the hotel room stuff is going to complicate his divorce if it starts showing up on bank statements and stuff. He's arranged for her to stay in his mate's flat, but she's not going for it until he agrees to book her flights to Ireland today. Meanwhile, Roy has agreed to fuck off to Scarborough to see Cathy, and Carla offers to give him a ride and maybe find a cheeky wee hotel for herself when she gets there. It seems Emily is after half of Joel's shit, and he's worried about the bank account stress. Dee Dee offers to help, saying it's lucky that he doesn't have any secret accounts, and they all laugh.
Ha ha ha!
He goes off to help his mate pack, or so he says, but he's meeting Racist Kelly at his place.
Right, yeah, he says he's going off to pack some more of his shit to bring over to Dee Dee's. And that's how you know this is actually Joel's flat and not some imaginary friend that he thinks he has.
He says it's hers until he sorts out her Irish escape, and he asks her to trust him. Racist Kelly's furious about this and tells him that she's learned a thing or two online, and she has sent a scheduled email to Swain telling her everything, and it'll go automatically in a month unless he sticks to the deal. And I'm like, Well done, you.
Yes, good girl.
A wee bit of sense there.
Good girl.
He wants to know how he knows that she won't send it anyway, and she says, "You'll just have to trust me." Joel is fucking furious about this.
Yes.
But then, before he can do anything, Dee Dee arrives, and he has to buzz her up, and he throws racist Kelly and her stuff into the bedroom.
And see, this is another point in which you realize that this is Joel's flat.
You've made your point. You've made your point 3 times now. Dee Dee seems to want a dry hump, but Joel convinces her to fuck off to a pub for lunch instead. Later, he gets back, and racist Kelly thinks Joel is still on about the Irish plan. He shows her the plane ticket to Ireland. It's scheduled for August the 12th, which gives him 3 weeks to sort out his divorce and get her the fuck over the Irish Sea. He leaves her to it, promising to be back tomorrow. But when he gets home, he's immediately on at the Voggle, and he's looking up how to induce labour prematurely. Yikes.
Or premature labour. And at first I was cracking up because at first it seemed like he was going to be writing how to induce, and then it's just a P. And I'm laughing, saying, how to induce pregnancy? I think that ship has sailed, sir.
Yes.
What you need is labor.
Yes.
The word you're looking for is labor. And then it's like, oh, okay, premature labor. Labor.
And that's how we end this week's episodes.
Yeah. So, yeah, he seems less creepy and more camp at this point. Mm-hmm. Because he's not really in a position of power anymore. He thinks he's still in a position of power, but he's not.
Not since that scheduled email got announced.
Even before that, when Lauren showed back up, and she revealed that she was pregnant. Because here's the thing that I don't think Joel is really thinking about at the moment. If he kills her, or if he does something to harm the baby, that baby has his DNA. And people can check DNA these days. So he's fucked either way. There's really nothing he can do about it. Because if he does something to her and to that baby, and she realizes it and says, this was his baby, he can't just say, oh, she's a liar, like Victorian times. She could say, this is his baby, check the DNA, bitch.
Right.
So he's been fucked ever since he realized she was pregnant.
Yeah. He's been chasing his tail trying to get back in control of the situation.
Right.
And it is now inescapably
out of his...
just beyond his reach now.
But even before this, like with that other girl, and when that other girl disappeared, it's like, oh, he's killed her. But then he didn't. He just shooed her away. And then when he saw her like at a train station or something, and she demands money from him, he gave her the money to go away. So
that was the one that he tried to get a blowjob out of.
Right. And the one who he said, good girl to very creepily after the whole Bethany thing.
Yeah.
So he's been slowly becoming less scary as the storyline
Which
goes
I think
along.
they've had to make him because for the whole reason that we talked about with Stephen, exclusively killing men, once he starts threatening women and looking to Moida, Tim's mum and people like that, the comedy factor that they built up for Stephen kind of disappears.
Right, but there's never been comedy factor for Joel. Joel's not a comedy.
No, but I don't know that they can make him out and out. Well, maybe because they kind of did with Tim's dad right enough.
Yeah. And Nathan.
I'm thinking maybe they're reluctant to make him that much of a sexual deviant and a horrid threat. But yeah, they have done it before.
We've seen that man's tongue. Everything's on the table.
Yeah. So
and
this still plays by the American Psycho rules, by the way, because Patrick Bateman was a disgraceful failure of a human being
Right.
in every other sense other than he killed people.
Uh-huh.
He had a high-paying job where he didn't do anything.
Right.
He had friends who were equally vacuous. He had nothing really going for him
Correct.
until he was killing people. And this is
Right.
kind of... This is almost Joel now. He's kind of useless of what he's doing here.
Right. And he seems kind of useless as a lawyer.
I don't know that we've really seen him in
Yeah.
action. He got Racist Kelly off, though,
Like that.
way back in the day.
Yeah. But, you know, it kind of feels like maybe they're trying to pull him back into being genuinely creepy by this Voggle search. But then again, he's doing a Voggle search on this in a home he shares with his fiancée. And you know Joel's the type of person to not remember to clear his search history.
And even if he does, it still goes through your router, so your ISP knows what you've been searching for, whether you like it or not.
Right, exactly.
So he's making schoolboy errors here if it ever gets to that.
Right.
And I'm not sure that the show's really caring about getting so sophisticated about it.
No.
That's going to come with this. But he is making mistakes. And this really feels like it's a plan that he has to follow through on. He has to get Racist Kelly to Ireland and out of the way.
Right.
And then that problem is kind of gone. I mean, there's an ongoing monthly problem of having to pay for all this, but...
Yeah, but it also kind of seems like he's trying to get where he's thinking that if he gets her into premature labor, then maybe the baby dies and his problems go away. But
his problems don't go away.
His problems don't go away that way. And what is he going to do? Is he going to take her horseback riding?
Yeah.
Is he going to, tinge her tea with nightshade? What is he going to feed her fish full of mercury? What is
Sushi for dinner every night, Racist Kelly.
Is he going to have lots of sex with her? Because that also induces labor.
He has to be careful because he needs her alive because he needs her to delete that email.
Right.
So get rid of the baby, get rid of the one complication,
Right,
but he still has the Racist Kelly complication.
If she's in the hospital the day of the email, she's not going to be able to delete that email.
Well, he's got 3 weeks.
Yeah. And actually, she's like, what, 6 months?
5 months.
So in 3 weeks, she'd be like 6 months. So that's over the threshold, I think. That baby could survive at 6 months.
It feels like we have a self-imposed deadline on this.
She looks more than 5 months.
The wedding is going to be September 27.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like that's when everything comes to a head. September 27. Whether that's the baby stuff or not. If that's a wedding, weddings typically are when shit gets found out.
Yeah. You don't think you don't think that this isn't going to hit the fan before the wedding? It kind of feels like this is the sort of thing that might hit the fan before the wedding.
No, I'm going to put my £5 English on it hitting the fan September 27.
It's only 2 months away.
Yeah. And then that's it done. And I think that's a decent timeline for this story. It's basically all year. Although it's been in secret for quite a lot of it. But September 27 would be timely, I think. That was the week that was Coronation Street then. Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week?
You know what? It was Racist Kelly and Roy. Racist Kelly apologizing to Roy.
See, that feels like redemption.
I don't feel like it's redemption, but I think it's the first genuine start that we've gotten. It feels like the first time we've ever seen Racist Kelly genuinely sorry for something. And I also enjoy seeing her acknowledging that Roy is one of the few people that genuinely care about her well-being.
Yeah.
And also, it's nice to see Roy genuinely being concerned and not wagging his finger at her or anything, because Roy's been very finger waggy the past few months. And I haven't really appreciated it.
It has been.
So it's nice to kind of see the old Roy kind of shining through here as well.
Maybe if he spent as much time shaving as he does wagging his finger at people, we'd have a little bit less to complain about. I don't know that we're ever going to get the redemption story that we want for Racist Kelly, and maybe this is as close as we're going to get to it by her admitting her involvement
Right.
in this part of it.
Yeah.
But there's a whole shit that happened before that that is just getting forgotten
It just
about.
feels like this is the beginning of the redemption.
Well, we will
of
see.
Genuine redemption.
Racist Kelly, in her attempt to make amends with Roy, is our...
John Doe has the upper hand.
That genuinely gave me a fright.
She didn't
As
try.
a-
She did. She made amends with Roy because Roy forgave her.
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
Your boring moment of the week.
Is it Sean explaining to Stu why he and Dylan got takeout that night while wearing his peacock shirt?
I don't think I remember anything about that.
He's like, oh well, if I figured if he's going to be serving it, he's got to know what it tastes like or something like that. And Stu's like, well, for the most part, he's just going to be scraping it into bins.
That doesn't sound boring.
You didn't even remember it.
Hey, I'm busy. I'm writing notes about things that don't involve Sean.
And his peacock shirt. We haven't seen the peacock shirt in forever.
The boring moment of the week for me was when Kirk came into the pub and said, what gets back from Rochdale in an hour and 10 minutes and rhymes with turkey?
It's Kirky. That was kind of ridiculous.
And then he had a little scene with Mary where she ended up ordering a dirty martini and he ordered a clean lager. That went nowhere. I see, you don't remember that.
I don't. I genuinely don't.
Yeah, that was the scene. And then somebody else said something in the pub and it kind of moved.
All right,
and the camera
okay.
went, well, that was fucking boring, and moved round to other people who were slightly more interesting.
Right, yeah, okay. So Kirky's clean lager is our
boring moment of the week.
That works. Now, our poll for what did people think of Coronation Street this week, once again, was very positive. And that's 2 weeks in the trot, where the yay, 48%, the meh, 36%, and the zzz, 16%. So again, a resounding...
It's a good week.
Positive response from our followers on Twitter. But that doesn't influence our score, Helen.
No.
You know that.
No.
I know that. Our
Yes.
listeners know that. So what is your score out of 10 this week?
7. It was a good week. Things happened.
Things did happen.
Things happened in a number of storylines. For the most part, it all made sense. The only thing that doesn't make sense is Roy getting out of the hospital that quick after bypass surgery.
Right.
And and me kind of cooling off on Betsy. Those were my only 2 complaints of the week. So yeah, it's a 7.
Now, you docked 2 points just for the mention of Mason last week. We actually had sight of him.
Yeah, but he was sleeping rough, so it's fine.
And those are Helen's rules that she makes up as she's going along. I'm going to give it an 8, I think. I don't think it was quite as
You
good as
gave it
it
an
was.
8 last week,
No, I gave
didn't
it a 9 last week.
What?
I think it was amazing last week.
Wow.
This week, not quite as good, but still, I agree. I think it was a good week. There was lots of interesting, fun stuff. I like the development mostly. So yeah, it's a little bit of a run that we're on here. And long may that continue. Let's wrap this one up then. This episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast. That's Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Trisha, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, Aurora Yvonne, Heather Westerfield, Russell Whiting, Jackie B and Brittany Porter. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
If you've ever encouraged a relative to speak to an AI-generated version of a loved one, write in to tell us about it. We are thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/thetalkofthestreet, or patreon.com/The Talk of the Street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel and blog, but don't do any image searches. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists. Ha! I knew you wrote you think about it at the time.
We went on a heist and tapped our nose. See, I already mentioned the whole tapping of our noses. We tapped our nose and watched The Godfather.
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode.
It's The Godfather.
And we will be back next week with more The Talk of the Street. Cheerio.